I was 64 years old when I married Russell Kane. Looking back now, I sometimes ask myself one question. How could a woman who spent her whole life reading people fail to see the man standing right in front of her? My name is Martha Ellison. I live in a small town in Oregon. Before I retired, I worked for 36 years as a school cafeteria manager. I wasn't famous. I was just an ordinary woman who believed kindness always came back. For most of my life, it did. Until before him, I had only been married once. My husband, Thomas, passed away after a heart attack when he was 61. We had shared 40 years together. We raised one son, worried about bills together, celebrated birthdays, argued over little things, and somehow always found our way back to each other before bedtime. After he died, my house became painfully quiet. The television stayed on longer than I watched it. Sometimes I cooked enough food for two before remembering I was eating alone. I started freezing leftovers because I hated throwing food away. The freezer became fuller every week. My heart felt the same way. Full of memories. No room for anything new. People around me kept saying the same thing. You're still young. You should enjoy life. You shouldn't spend every day alone. I smiled every time. But when I closed my front door, the smile disappeared. No one talks much about loneliness after 60. People think you get used to it. You don't. You simply become better at hiding it. Every Friday morning, I visited the local farmer's market. Not because I needed vegetables. I went because I liked hearing people talk. Children laughing. Couples arguing about which apples to buy. Neighbors greeting each other. Those little sounds reminded me that life was still moving. One Friday, I stopped at a stand selling homemade honey. An older man beside me picked up the same jar. "Oh," he said with a smile. "Looks like we have good taste." I laughed. "You can take it." "No," he replied. "Ladies first." That was the first time I met Russell. He introduced himself like an old-fashioned gentleman. He said he had recently retired after working many years as an insurance claims adjuster. He spoke softly. He listened more than he talked. Before leaving, he said something simple. "I hope I see you here again." I didn't think much about it. But the next Friday, he was there again, standing at the same honey stand, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I wasn't sure if you preferred cream," he said. "I do," I guessed. We sat on a wooden bench near the market and talked for almost an hour, mostly about ordinary things. Gardening, weather, favorite movies. Nothing dramatic, nothing romantic. It felt comfortable. Comfort can be very powerful when you've been lonely for years. Soon, Fridays became our day. Then Wednesdays too. Sometimes we walked around the lake, sometimes we shared lunch, sometimes we just sat quietly watching ducks swim across the water. There wasn't much excitement. But after losing Thomas, excitement wasn't what I wanted. Peace was. One afternoon, Russell noticed I was rubbing my knee. "Does it hurt often?" he asked. "Only when the weather changes." The next week, he arrived carrying a small heating pad. I thought this might help. It wasn't expensive, but it felt thoughtful. No one had paid attention to little things about me in a long time. That's how trust begins. Not with grand promises, with small moments. Around that time, my best friend, Janice Holloway, invited me over for dinner. Janice had known me since high school. She could usually tell what I was thinking before I said a word. "So," she asked while serving chicken soup, "tell me about this new man. His name is Russell. You like him?" "I think I do." She smiled, but didn't say anything. After dinner, she walked me to my car. Just before I got inside, she became serious. "Martha." "Yes?" "Just promise me one thing." "What?" "Don't rush." I laughed. "We're in our 60s. "Exactly." She looked straight into my eyes. Lonely people often mistake attention for love. I remember smiling at her. "I'll be careful." At the time, I truly believed I would. Months passed. Russell became part of my daily life. He fixed a broken gate in my backyard. He changed the batteries in my smoke detector. He even planted tulips because he remembered I once mentioned they were Thomas's favorite flowers. Every kind thing made me trust him a little more. Looking back now, I realize trust grows quietly. You rarely notice it happening. One evening, we sat on my porch watching the sunset. The sky turned orange and pink. Russell reached for my hand. "Martha." "Yes?" "I don't want to spend whatever years I have left alone." "Neither do I thought. He looked nervous. "I know we're older. We are. But I believe two people can still build a happy life." I didn't answer. He squeezed my hand gently. "Will you marry me?" For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. No one had called me beautiful in years. No one had held my hand like that in years. No one had looked at me as if I still mattered. Tears filled my eyes. I never thought someone would ask me that again. He smiled. "You deserve to be loved." Those words went straight to my heart. I said yes. Our wedding was small, just a few friends. My son, Eric, couldn't come because he was working overseas in Germany. He called before the ceremony. "Mom, are you sure about this?" "I am. You've only known him 8 months. We're not 20 anymore." "I know." His voice became quiet. "I just don't want anyone hurting you." I laughed softly. Russell isn't that kind of man. If only I had listened a little longer to the silence after my son stopped talking. Sometimes the people who love us notice things we cannot see ourselves. 3 weeks after our wedding, Russell moved into my house. The first few days felt wonderful. We ate breakfast together, watched old movies, worked in the garden. For the first time since Thomas died, the house didn't feel empty. Then, one ordinary Tuesday morning, I noticed something so small that I almost ignored it. Russell was standing alone in my home office. He wasn't looking at family photos. He wasn't searching for a book. He was quietly opening the drawer where I kept my financial papers. When he realized I was standing behind him, he smiled quickly. "I was just looking for a pen," I smiled back. But something inside me whispered, "Why would a man looking for a pen open the drawer that held bank statements instead?" For a moment, I stood in the hallway and looked at him. He smiled like nothing had happened. I wanted to believe him. Maybe he really was looking for a pen. There were plenty of pens in the kitchen. There were some in the living room too. Still, I said nothing. Sometimes our hearts protect the people we love, even when our minds begin asking questions. Russell walked over and kissed my forehead. "Everything okay?" "Yes." "You look worried." "I'm just tired." He smiled. "You've been working too hard in the garden." I smiled back. But deep inside, something felt different. Not fear, just a tiny feeling that I couldn't explain. It stayed with me all day. A week later, my son Eric called from Germany. "How's married life, Mom?" "It's good." "You sound unsure." I said it's good. He laughed. "You always repeat yourself when you're hiding something." I smiled. "You still know me too well. So, how's Russell?" "He's kind." "That's good." "He fixes things around the house." "That's nice." "He even cooks breakfast." There was a short silence. Then Eric asked a strange question. "Has he ever asked about your money?" I almost laughed. "What?" "I'm serious." "No." "You sure?" "He knows I have my retirement." "That's not what I mean." "What do you mean?" "He asked me during the wedding if your house was already paid off." I stopped smiling. "What?" "I didn't want to tell you before the wedding." "Why not?" "I didn't want to ruin your day." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Maybe he was just making conversation. Maybe. Eric didn't argue, but promised me something. "What?" "If anything feels wrong, you'll tell me." "I will." After we hung up, I kept thinking about that conversation. Russell had never mentioned asking Eric that question. Maybe it wasn't important. Maybe it was. I didn't know. Life returned to normal. At least it looked normal. Every morning, Russell read the newspaper. Every afternoon, he watched old Western movies. Every evening, we walked around the neighborhood. People often stopped us. "You two look so happy. What a lovely couple. You found each other at the perfect time." Russell always smiled. So did I. No one can see what's happening inside a marriage by looking at a smiling photograph. One Saturday, my neighbor Linda Morales invited us to a backyard barbecue. Russell was friendly with everyone. He told funny stories. He made people laugh. Even Linda whispered to me, "You found yourself a good man." I nodded. I think so. Later that afternoon, while everyone was eating dessert, I went inside Linda's house to wash my hands. As I walked back toward the backyard, I heard Russell talking to Linda's husband, Steve. I wasn't trying to listen. They simply didn't know I was nearby. Steve laughed. "So, are you enjoying retirement?" Russell answered. "It's easier when your wife already owns everything." The two men laughed. Then Russell added, "I don't have to worry about buying another house now." I stopped walking. Maybe he meant it as a joke. Maybe. But something about his voice didn't sound like a joke. I quietly walked back outside without saying anything. The rest of the afternoon, I couldn't enjoy myself. Those words stayed inside my head. It's easier when your wife already owns everything. That evening, I asked him about it. "You made a joke today." "What joke?" "About my house." He looked confused for a second. Then he laughed. "Oh, that." It bothered me. "You know I was kidding." "Were you?" He looked straight into my eyes. "Martha." "Yes?" "If I wanted money, do you really think I'd spend months falling in love with you?" I felt embarrassed. "No, exactly." He took both of my hands. "I married you because I love you." His voice sounded honest. His eyes never looked away. I apologized. "I'm sorry." He smiled warmly. I know losing Thomas made it hard to trust again. He hugged me tightly. And just like that, the uncomfortable feeling disappeared, at least for a while. 2 weeks later, Russell surprised me with breakfast. Fresh pancakes, orange juice, coffee. He even placed a small flower beside my plate. "You deserve nice things," he said. I smiled. This is sweet. As we ate, he casually asked, "Have you ever made a will?" The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. A will? Everyone our age should have one. I suppose. You don't want the government making decisions. I've never really thought about it. I know a lawyer. His words came so naturally, almost too naturally. You don't have to decide today. He took another bite of pancakes. I'm just thinking about protecting you. Protecting me. That sounded caring. Still, why had money suddenly become part of our conversations? House, retirement, will. It all seemed small by itself, but together, it formed a picture I wasn't ready to look at. A few days later, I went to the bank to deposit a check. The bank manager, Patricia Green, had known me for nearly 20 years. She smiled as I walked in. "Good morning, Martha." "Morning." While she helped me, she looked at her computer. Then she frowned. "Did you recently ask about adding another person to your savings account?" I blinked. "No." She looked surprised. "We received a phone call asking about the paperwork." My heart skipped. "Who called?" "I can't tell you." "Was it my husband?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I thanked her and slowly walked back to my car. For several minutes, I couldn't even start the engine. Russell had never mentioned calling the bank. Not once. If he was only trying to help, why keep it a secret? I drove home with shaking hands. Russell was watering the flowers when I pulled into the driveway. He waved happily. "You're home," I smiled. But this time, the smile didn't reach my eyes. For the first time since marrying him, I wasn't wondering if I had found love again. I was wondering, who had I really married? I didn't ask Russell about the bank. Not that day, not the next day either. I wanted to think before I spoke. Thomas used to tell me, when you're upset, don't make decisions. Go for a walk first. So that's what I did. The next morning, I walked around the lake by myself. The water was still. A few ducks floated near the shore. Everything looked peaceful. But my mind wasn't. I kept asking myself the same question. Was I imagining things? Or was my heart finally seeing what it had refused to see? When I got home, Russell was in the garage. He was smiling as he organized some old boxes. "Perfect timing," he said. I cleaned out the shelves. "Thank you. You should throw away half this stuff." I laughed a little. I've been saying that for years. Then he picked up a small metal box. "What's in here?" "Oh." I quickly walked over and took it from his hands. "Just old memories." He smiled. "You don't have to hide anything from me." I forced a smile. "I know." But I didn't open the box. Inside were old letters Thomas had written to me. Some memories belong only to the people who lived them. That afternoon, I drove to see Janice. She noticed something was wrong before I even sat down. "You've been crying." "No." "Martha." She handed me a tissue. "You don't have to pretend with me." I finally sighed. "I think something feels off." She didn't interrupt. She simply waited. I told her everything. The office drawer, the joke at the barbecue, the questions about my will, the phone call to the bank. Janice stayed quiet for a long moment. Then she asked one question. "Has he ever asked how much money you actually have?" I thought for a second. "No." "Really?" "No." "He asks about the house." "Yes." "He asks about your retirement?" "Yes." "He asks about paperwork?" "Yes." "But never the amount?" I nodded. She leaned back in her chair. "That means he's being careful." Those words sent a chill through me. "What do you mean?" "If someone asks directly how much money you have, it's obvious." She looked at me kindly. "But if they ask small questions over time, they slowly learn everything." I looked down at my hands. For the first time, I felt afraid. Not because I knew the truth, because I didn't. That night, Russell cooked dinner. Grilled chicken, green beans, mashed potatoes. He even lit a candle. It reminded me of the dinner I had once prepared for Thomas years ago. Funny how memories appear when you least expect them. Russell smiled across the table. "You've been quiet lately." "I've just been thinking." "About what?" "Life." He laughed. "That's a dangerous hobby." I smiled politely. Then he reached across the table. "I've been thinking too." "About what?" "We should take a trip." "A trip?" "Florida. I've always wanted to go. We deserve to enjoy life." "It sounds nice." "It does." Then he added something that caught my attention. "We could sell this house and buy something smaller after we get back." I looked at him. "Sell the house? It's too big for two people. I've lived here for 40 years. I know. It holds my memories. You can't live in memories forever." His words weren't cruel, but they landed hard. I looked around the dining room. Thomas had painted those walls. Eric had marked his height on the pantry door when he was a boy. The apple tree outside had been planted the day we moved in. This wasn't just a house, it was my life. "I don't want to sell." Russell smiled. "We'll talk about it another time." But I noticed something. It was the first time since our wedding that his smile disappeared quickly. A few days later, Eric came home from Germany for a short visit. The moment he hugged me, I felt safe again. "No matter how old you get," he said, "you still give the best hugs." I laughed. "You'll always be my little boy." "I'm 40. "You'll still be my little boy." Russell greeted him warmly. The three of us had dinner together. Everything looked normal. They talked about baseball, cars, fishing, old movies. If someone had walked into the room, they would have thought we were one happy family. But I noticed something. Every time I left the table, the conversation stopped. The first time, I ignored it. The second time, I wondered. The third time, I knew it wasn't my imagination. That evening, Eric knocked softly on my bedroom door. "Can we talk?" Of course. He closed the door behind him. "Mom, what is it?" I don't trust him. I felt my stomach tighten. "Why?" I caught him asking questions. What kind of questions? He wanted to know if Dad had life insurance. I stared at Eric. He asked that? Yes. And then he asked if the house would automatically become his if something happened to you. I couldn't speak. I didn't answer. Eric sat beside me. "I'm sorry." "For what?" I wanted to like him. So did I. He took my hand. "I've never seen you this happy." I thought I was. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I don't want to watch someone break your heart. His words hurt more than anything Russell had ever said, because they came from love, not suspicion. The next morning, I decided to clean the guest room after Eric left to visit an old friend. While changing the bed sheets, I remembered I needed extra blankets. They were stored in the attic. I climbed the narrow wooden stairs slowly. The attic smelled of old wood and dust. I found the blankets quickly. As I turned to leave, I noticed a black travel bag tucked behind several storage boxes. It belonged to Russell. I wasn't looking through his things. I only recognized the bag because he had brought it when he moved in. The zipper wasn't fully closed. A folded piece of paper was sticking out. I told myself to walk away. I even took 2 steps toward the stairs. Then something stopped me. Not curiosity, instinct. The kind that whispers when your heart is trying to protect you. I reached for the paper. It wasn't a letter. It wasn't a receipt. It was a printed checklist. At the top, someone had written in blue ink, "Marriage documents." My hands began to shake. Below that were several items with check marks beside them. Check marriage certificate, check house information, check retirement records, check bank details. Only one line remained unchecked. It was the last item on the page. I stared at those words until they became blurry. Because written beside the empty box were the words that changed everything. Updated will. I couldn't breathe. I kept staring at that checklist. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions. I wanted to believe that. I really did. I folded the paper exactly the way I had found it and slipped it back into the bag. Then I carried the blankets downstairs. My hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped them. Russell was sitting in the living room watching an old Western movie. He looked at me and smiled. "Find what you needed?" "Yes." "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine." I hated lying, but for the first time in my life, I felt it was safer to stay quiet. That night, I barely slept. Russell was asleep beside me. His breathing was slow and peaceful. I turned toward the window. The moonlight filled the room. I kept asking myself the same question. If he truly loved me, why did he need a checklist about my money? Around 3 in the morning, I quietly got out of bed. I made a cup of tea. I sat alone at the kitchen table. For years, that table had been the happiest place in my house. Thomas and I drank coffee there every morning. Eric did his homework there. We celebrated birthdays there. Now I sat there alone, wondering if I had invited a stranger into my home. The next morning, after Russell left to meet an old coworker, I drove straight to my lawyer. His name was Henry Collins. He had handled our family's paperwork for years. When he saw me, he smiled. "Martha, it's been a while." "It has. What brings you in?" I closed the office door. "I need your advice." An hour later, he knew everything. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Martha." "Yes?" "Have you signed anything since your marriage?" "No." "Power of attorney?" "No." "New will?" "No." "Joint ownership papers?" "No." He nodded slowly. "That's good. What should I do?" "Nothing." I looked surprised. "Nothing?" "Not until you know the truth." "So, I should wait?" "Yes." He paused for a moment. "And protect your financial records." Before I left, he said something I still remember. "Trust is earned over time." He looked me straight in the eyes. But once someone starts hiding their intentions, paperwork becomes more important than promises. On my way home, I stopped at the cemetery. Thomas's grave was covered with fresh grass. I sat on the small bench beside it. "I miss you today," I whispered. The wind moved gently through the trees. I smiled through my tears. "You always knew when something was wrong." Of course, there was no answer. But somehow sitting there made me feel stronger. Thomas couldn't solve my problem. But remembering the life we built reminded me of the woman I used to be. A woman who wasn't afraid to face the truth. That evening, I decided to test Russell. Nothing dramatic, just one simple sentence. While we were eating dinner, I smiled and said, "I've been thinking." "So have I," he replied. "I might donate most of my savings to the children's reading program at the local library." His fork stopped. Only for a second. Most people wouldn't have noticed. I did. "You mean all of it?" "Most of it." He forced a smile. "That's generous. I've always loved helping children." He didn't say another word for the rest of dinner. The room felt colder than usual. The next morning, Russell was unusually cheerful. He brought me flowers, made breakfast, asked if I wanted to go shopping. It was almost as if he was trying harder than ever. Then, while we were driving home, he spoke. "You know, what? I've been thinking about your idea." "My idea?" "The donation." "Oh, I don't think it's wise." "Why? What if one day we need that money? We have enough to live comfortably." "You never know." I looked out the window. "What if helping others is what makes me happy?" He sighed. "You should think about us first." That little word, us. It sounded loving, but somehow it felt heavy. Because every time Russell said us, the conversation somehow ended with my house, my retirement, or my savings. A week later, everything finally became clear. I wasn't looking for answers anymore. The answers found me. Russell had forgotten his phone on the kitchen counter. It started ringing while he was outside cutting the grass. I wasn't planning to answer, but the screen lit up. The caller's name caught my eye. Diane. Under her name, the message preview appeared before the phone locked again. Did she sign the new papers yet? My heart stopped. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. A few seconds later, another message appeared. "Don't wait too long this time. This time." Those two words echoed inside my head. This time? How many times had there been before? Russell came back inside a minute later. He picked up his phone. He looked at the screen. Then his face changed. He looked at me. "You didn't read anything, did you?" I met his eyes. For the first time since our wedding, I wasn't afraid. "No," I said calmly. "I didn't have to." The room became completely silent. He knew. I knew. Neither of us spoke another word. The next morning, before Russell woke up, I packed one small suitcase, not because I was running away, because I had finally chosen myself. I drove straight to Eric's house. When he opened the door and saw me standing there with my suitcase, he didn't ask a single question. He simply hugged me for a long time. Then he quietly said, "You finally saw it, didn't you?" I nodded. Yes. Tears rolled down my face. I wanted so badly to believe I had found love again. Eric held my shoulders. "Mom, you didn't fail. The wrong person fooled you." Those words helped me more than he will ever know. Over the next few weeks, everything came out. Russell wasn't drowning in debt like he had claimed. He had a history of marrying older women. Not many, but enough. Each relationship ended after arguments over property and money. Nothing criminal, nothing dramatic. Just a pattern. A pattern I had walked into without knowing. Our marriage ended quietly. No shouting, no revenge, no courtroom drama, just papers, signatures, and one final goodbye. I never saw Russell again. Today, I am 69. I still live in the same house. The apple tree Thomas planted still blooms every spring. My grandson now measures his height on the same pantry door where Eric once did. The house is full of laughter again. Not because I found another husband, because I found peace. People sometimes ask me if I would ever marry again. I smile. I don't know. But I do know this. Growing older should never mean lowering your standards. Loneliness can make attention feel like love. But real love never rushes your trust. It never counts your money before it learns your heart. If someone is truly meant to stay in your life, they will protect your peace, not your bank account. That is the price I paid at 64. And if my story keeps even one person from making the same mistake, then every painful lesson was worth sharing.